I was in the pet shop, waiting in the queue at the checkout with a bag of dog food for my dogs. Suddenly, the woman behind me asked if I had a dog. Really? Why else would I be buying dog food? On impulse, I told her that no, I didn't have a dog. I was starting the dog food diet again, and that I probably shouldn't because I ended up in the hospital last time, but that I'd lost 4 stone in weight before I awakened in intensive care with tubes coming out of most of my orifices and IV infusions in both arms. I told her that it was essentially a perfect diet, and all you do is load your pockets with handfuls of dry food and simply eat some every time you feel hungry. The food is nutritionally complete, so it works well, and I was going to try it again. By now, practically everyone in the queue, and the girl behind the counter, was enthralled with my tale. Horrified, the woman asked if I ended up in intensive care because the dog food poisoned me. Not at all, I told her. I stepped off a curb to sniff a spaniel's backside and a lorry hit me. Little Johnny is constantly late for school, and what's worse is that he always has a big lie explaining why. The teacher tells the headmaster that she has had it with his exaggerations. He tells her to send Johnny to him the next time he shows up late. He will tell Johnny a lie so big that he will never tell another one. Ever. The next day, Johnny shows up 2 hours late. Johnny says, "I was 2 hours early today, so I had time to fish in the pond on my way to school. I caught a 17-pound trout and had to take it home. If I didn't clean it and freeze it, my mom would have been angry. That's why I'm so late." The teacher promptly takes him to headmaster's office and explains the story to him. He tells Johnny about his own trip to school that day. He says, "I was walking to school through the park today when I heard something behind me. I turned around and was shocked to see a giant grizzly bear behind me. He was 24 feet tall and had 6-inch fangs. He was going to eat me, Johnny." Just then, a little dog ran out from the bushes, jumped up and attacked the bear. The little dog killed the bear and then ate the whole bear right there in front of me. What do you think of that, Johnny? Johnny replies, "Oh yeah, that's my dog Sparky. That's his 3rd bear this week." A man had been drinking at a pub all evening, and by the time the bartender rang for final orders, he was totally bladdered. He stood up to leave and promptly fell flat on his face. A second attempt ended in the same result, so he figured he'd crawl outside and get some fresh air and maybe that would sober him up. Once outside, he stood up and fell flat on his face once more. Giving it up as a bad job, he decided to crawl the mile to his home. When he arrived at his front door, he stood up and again fell flat on his face. He crawled indoors, up the stairs, and into his bedroom. When he reached his bed, he tried one last time to stand up. This time, he managed to pull himself upright, but he quickly fell onto bed and was sound asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow. He was awakened the next morning to his wife standing over him. "So you've been out drinking again," she shouted. "What makes you say that?" he asked, putting on an oh-so-innocent look. "The pub called. You left your wheelchair there." A young woman in New York was so depressed that she decided to end her life by throwing herself into the ocean. She went down to the docks and was about to leap into the frigid water when a handsome young sailor saw her tottering on the edge of the pier, crying. He took pity on her and said, "Look, you have so much to live for. I'm off to Europe in the morning, and if you like, I can stow you away on my ship. I'll take good care of you and bring you food every day." Moving closer, he slipped his arm around her shoulder and added, "I'll keep you happy and you'll keep me happy." The girl nodded yes. After all, what did she have to lose? Perhaps a fresh start in Europe would give her life new meaning. That night, the sailor brought her aboard and hid her in a lifeboat. From then on, every night he brought her 3 sandwiches and a piece of fruit, and they made passionate love until dawn. 3 weeks later, during a routine inspection, she was discovered by the captain. "What are you doing here?" the captain asked. "I have an arrangement with one of the sailors. she explained. I get food and a trip to Europe, and he's screwing me. He certainly is, the captain said. This is the Staten Island ferry.